So this verse is kind of the same as yesterday, in the sense that Krishna tests Arjuna. This is the nature of the Lord, to test his devotee. He tests him for what? When you know that someone can accomplish something wonderful, you will give him the opportunity to accomplish it, because nobody else can do it. But it seems like a test. Why? Because at the same time, Krishna, he will put so many obstacles to teach the ordinary living beings how to surrender to him. So there's a test, but at the same time there's victory. This is the Krishna's nature, because finally what does Krishna want? To glorify his devotee. If someone has the minutest qualification, that means love for Krishna. So Krishna has love for his devotee. And the finality is that Krishna will glorify his devotee. This is the nature. Let us see the Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada received the instruction from his spiritual master and from Krishna to distribute the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And automatically, he found himself without anything, although he left with nothing, but still Krishna knew everything. Why did Krishna do that? He could have directly given him billions of dollars. You understand? Why did he put him without any money, without a penny? It's to teach us surrender, faith. It is something that is very important, and from there what happens? When we read Srila Prabhupada's life, we say, oh, yeah, he was 70 years old, I'm 25, I'm 30, I'm 40, I'm 50. He gave his life to help others, so I will give my life to help others. You understand? If we would have given him billions of dollars, he just needed to sign checks. It will not have been the same, because you would say, I don't have any money. But he had less money than you, he was older, he was sick. It is the summum of surrender. So you cannot say, you cannot do it. So Krishna, he always puts his devotee in a condition extremely difficult for someone ordinary. Nobody could go to the West in such circumstances, unless those who have extreme faith. Faith means to see, to experience, to hear, to touch, to taste. Without this, it's not faith. Intellectual faith does not allow to see Krishna, because when the test will come, you will lose your faith. But naturally, faith means Krishna will accompany you. When the tests come, Krishna is there. If you suffer, Krishna is there. That does not mean that simply he gives you a bandage, but he will speak to you. He will accompany you. He will encourage you. So we could say, but why? He does not do everything, because he is the Lord. But at the same time, he does everything. He does everything. But it is Krishna's nature to glorify his devotees. That's why he sends his devotees. Otherwise, he could directly manifest a partial manifestation of his person and come in this world. But before everything, there is love. Love means to glorify. When we love someone, we speak to that person. We glorify that person. It's the nature of love, because we need that person to be superior to us. So when Krishna glorifies his devotees, it is inconceivable, unthinkable. And we see, for example, in the personality of Prabhupada today, Prabhupada is more known than before, even. If we see Prabhupada, He did not do that many disciples, 5,000. 5,000 for a Shaktavesh avatar. And in the context he was in the time of hippies where spirituality was favorable, it's not much. But it is like seeds. In one seed, there's a tree. There are fruits. And these fruits will give other seeds, will give trees, will give fruits, etc. You understand? It is just like a candle. Brahma, in his prayers, explains Govinda is the original Lord. And in the same way that all his incarnations are manifested from him, since he is the original candle, which lights all other candles, is the same flame but on different forms. In the same way, when the Vaishnava distributes the mercy of Krishna, it is not his mercy that he distributes. Sometimes it's wrongly understood. That's why sometimes devotees, they have a sectarian spirit. It's the mercy of Radharani that Prabhupada came to give, the mercy of Gauranga that Prabhupada came to give. And this mercy, finally, is universal. You understand? But because he is a messenger, and because Krishna wants to glorify him, so naturally, we must glorify him to obtain the full benediction, full blessings of the mercy, and so that we can ourselves become a tree, a seed that will take its roots in the soil and then become a tree and give fruits. And we see, actually, the fruits, they're not the same. Because what we know from Krishna, what Prabhupada taught us, how do we know is how to dress, how to eat. Everything came from Prabhupada. So it's the same fruit. You understand? And most of all, if we receive direct instructions from Prabhupada, this is the same mission. There's no difference. But naturally, Prabhupada, he can be perceived in different ways. Just like the Christians perceive Jesus in different ways, there will be movements connected to Prabhupada in different ways, because Prabhupada had wonderful qualities. Automatically, it cannot be perceived by everyone in the same way. It is not possible, because he has so many qualities. And this is something we will see in the generations to come, the future generations. We see groups of devotees that there will be different missions with Prabhupada and not just one. And it's already starting. Why? Because all do not find themselves with the same conception, because the devotee will reveal it himself differently. For example, a devotee that is more neophyte, connected to the external aspect of Prabhupada, he will see a mission, but someone who has a more elevated bhajan, he will see the eternal form of Prabhupada, he will have a vision of Prabhupada, and it could be different because the feelings are different, the approach is different, you understand? And automatically what a devotee will give, it will give at a certain level, another devotee will give at a certain level. It's the same mission, but there are fruits that are ripe and fruits that are less ripe. It's normal. But the point is that no matter what the tree is, since all are connected to Prabhupada, everyone can obtain the fruit from Prabhupada. Because although is intermediate, is not at the same time the intermediary, because the availability is always present. And this is what is beautiful in our acharyas, in the Sankirtan movement. It's that it is eternal. It is not manifested at one point, and it is not retracted at one point. It's eternal. So what is eternal can always be tasted. Why? Because Krishna is in the heart. And it is him before everything, who is the sacrifice and the fruit of sacrifice. So, Krishna can give always, all the time. He can manifest the presence of his devotees, even if they disappeared. The mercy of his devotees, even if they disappeared. It is an experience. Those who never had the experience, they could not believe. But those who had the experience, They understand everything is possible. It is a question of mercy. You can say Prabhupada, 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 but it's not that it's necessarily going to work. You could hit your head on the door and Prabhupada, like a big fanatic, but it's not necessarily that it will appear. Before everything else, there's also the connection with your previous lives, who you were in your previous life. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita explains that someone who practiced in his previous lives, when he starts his practice again, he can be much more elevated than a person who has been practicing for 30, 40, 50 years. And this is what makes the difference, is that naturally, when someone who has already qualified in his previous life's practice, so the connection he has with Bhakti is completely different, because he can see these personalities come to get him, because he was already a disciple of these personalities, even if it's in his previous lives. This is a qualified Vaishnava, is that they follow each other. We should never, think that Krishna does not follow his devotee. Krishna follows him, and in proper time, he gives him remembrance of what he did before. So naturally, it's difficult to perceive who is who, unless we ourselves are advanced spiritually. Someone can be born in a worse condition and become a great Vaishnava, because this is Krishna's nature to do this. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta explains that in his purports in Chaitanya Bhagavat on Haridas Thakur, that the Lord can make his devotee get born in all situations. And fortunately, because when a devotee is born in a humble situation, or completely fallen, so everyone can say, oh, it's for me. If every time a devotee could get born in a noble family, that he will never eat meat, never any sex life, and not taking drugs, etc., etc., that will be for nobody. You will be like certain Indians who would say, oh, you need to take birth in India to receive the mercy. Many devotees think that. It's really bad understanding of the Sankirtan movement. I've seen many people. There's a big contamination in India regarding this. We have our contamination, but they also have their contamination. It doesn't have the same face, but they are contaminations, and they're strong. I saw things. I could not even think that this could exist in the Sankirtan movement. This is why historic personalities like Prabhupada are liberating personalities, because they give the opportunity for revolution. Of course, revolution with people who are conservative cannot express itself really. But those who are truly liberated, they can engage and make this revolution. Mahaprabhu's movement can go in everything. You must touch everything. All social environments, everything. It cannot be reserved just in people who are in noble families and India, who cut themselves from everything, who live simply between themselves. It's not possible. It is reserved for everyone. And this is the mission of Prabhupada. We will need to adapt ourselves to all dress codes, to all kinds of music, to all kinds of diet. Of course, we don't eat meat, no fish, no eggs, no all these things. But no matter what, how we cook for Krishna, if this is food he can accept, then that's no problem. No matter how you play music, it's not a problem. No matter how you dress, it's not a problem. No matter whether you have a car or a motorbike or a bicycle, or a surf, a throttle, no matter what. We don't care. What's important is that people can become devotees of the Lord and liberate themselves. And this is what is important. And the movement today is paralyzed. Nobody supports nobody. It's terrible, the situation of this movement today. There was a revolution that started, but it stopped. We can see it becomes religious, more and more and more religious. No, we must keep this conception, this true revolutionary conception. Most important is devotion in the heart. It's not the appearance. It is bhakti. It's not bhakti that we obtain. It's by bhakti that we obtain Krishna. It's by this that we can chant purely. It's not by the look, by the appearance, by the good way of thinking, of speaking, Appearance is not important. What counts is the way you serve Him. This is what is really important. And most of all, chanting. We recognize a devotee when he chants. If he doesn't chant, that means he's not a devotee. It's just external. In this age, the Lord asks us to chant. If someone does not chant, that means there's a problem. We recognize a devotee by the fact that he is chanting. No matter whether your head or you have a shika, but if you chant, then the Lord will be with you. It's not the look that is important. It's not the look that counts. What counts is the taste you have for chanting. If you don't chant, that means you're... the less a person chants, the most you can see how far she is from Krishna. It's not beautiful words, it's chanting. If someone is attached to chanting, he is a devotee. It's really important to understand. This is why we must inspire people to chant without offenses. And we must first of all chant without offenses. We must have a pure chanting with feelings. Because if we chant without offenses, we will inspire people to chant without offenses. Even if you are dressed no matter how, that you have an active life, that you're married, that you have 60 children, whatever you want. But if your chanting is pure and you have taste for chanting, so you will inspire so many people. But if you don't chant, who would you inspire? Your activities will have no strength. You'll be attracted to pleasure of the senses just by sex life. And you'll be illusioned by the world. If you chant and you have a good bhajan, so your eternal nature will awaken in you, and you'll be able to have a relationship with living beings at this level. This is true relationships of love. Otherwise, it's worth nothing. That's what Prabhupada explains from beginning to the end of his life. If you read Prabhupada's books, you'll understand. He came to make a revolution in the heart, not a religious revolution. He implemented things. He also gave the power to engage all things. And this is what we need. The proof is he engaged hippies. Never he closed the door to someone. Never. Prabhupada on 26 2nd Avenue, people were coming, they were on LSD. He never closed the door. There were all kinds of people who had psychiatric problems. Prabhupada never lived with Krishna for his own happiness. He said, oh, these people, I don't like them. Our mission, Prabhupada's mission is one. It is to prepare, to welcome people. it will fall upon us. It's just a question of time. And then you will not be able to discriminate, oh, this one has a problem, because you lose all the mercy. And it's even you who will contract all these problems that you see in others. This is why that gradually people will get closer to us. We'll need to find means to protect them. We need to find means to give them love and affection, no matter the level where they are. It is our work. Prabhupada did this. Without this, you're not with Prabhupada. Prabhupada did this. He took care of sick people. True or not? Are you ready to do this? It's not so easy. You'll say yes. It's not so simple. It's not so simple. And if we don't do it, there will be no success. Because they're not necessarily balanced people who will come. It's all kinds of people. Because people who suffer, they are the ones who hit the door, who knock at the door. Who knocked at the door? Srila Prabhupada's door. It is even explained that it was smelling really bad because hippies were smelling bad. Their feet were smelling bad. It's not so simple. But that's true. The taste on 22nd Avenue, oof, not so easy. But still, Prabhupada did all this work. And it's not that he did it just because he had to start. After other people came and they created a different standard. But Prabhupada, he stays the same Prabhupada. Could have helped always at this level so many people. He did not do this just to start because this is the mercy, this is compassion. It's not that after he rejected people because it was just the beginning. If you smell bad, if your feet smell bad, you cannot be accepted. You understand the point? He never was like this. It was always merciful. This is why, how to say, now, we should think that there's a standard. We could think that there's a standard to enter, but no. This is the principle of mercy. The Vaishnav is ready to go down to the lowest level. Only he can do that. Why? Because he sees the truth in the living being. He does not see the appearance. If you see only the appearance, it will not work. But what is interesting is that if we accept one, more will come. Because people know other people. And automatically, it's from mouth to ear. When something is good, you talk about it. It's good. Maybe it could be good for me also. Yes. It makes 2, it makes 4, 6, it makes 8, it makes 100, it makes 1,000. It can go very fast. Only you touch people who are a little popular in rock, in this, and already it gives naturally an attraction. It's not that all people will become practicing devotees, but it's not a problem. That's not what we're looking for. It's not what we're looking for. We look to be friends of living beings, not hunters, mercenaries who will have a victory. Oh, I did so many devotees. Remember, I was in a movement with such people. They said, I made 100 devotees. I made 20 devotees. It seems like they're headhunters. We are friends. Because the Lord lives in our heart, we are friends of living beings. We're there to make them evolve, to love them, to make them understand that there's a person, Krishna, who loves them. If you're like this, it will touch them. They make an effort at their level. And this effort will be a gain for you. You will become happy. When we do not give, we get rotten. Even some people, they get bored in a temple. Can you believe it? It's a problem. And still so many people are suffering everywhere, and they become so selfish that they do not do anything for others. It's not easy, huh? This is why Krishna must come help us also, so that we can give. He must do something. What will we become if we do not give? What will we become? Did you ask yourselves this question? How long we will be able to keep our standard if we do not give? Because if we give, we receive. So we must meditate on all these things. It's really important. We must open our mind and see Prabhupada by our experience and not by those who explain to us Prabhupada is like that. It is their vision. Myself, for example, why do I say that? Because I met people who rejected Prabhupada, for example. I met people who did not have a good experience. I met all kinds of people because Krishna made me see that there are different visions. Prabhupada's story is told by different persons. So we need our experience of Srila Prabhupada. This is the most important. Prabhupada can reveal himself to us. And this will be your reality. Because great personalities, they exist always. They exist in time, place, and circumstance. What happened 40 years ago is completely different from what's happening today. So if we had to say, if we keep stuck in things that happened 40 years ago and today is completely different, understand it's not really actual. The teachings philosophically do not budge, but there's case by case. The teachings he gave to his disciples, they move. You understand? To one he can say something, to the other he can say the opposite. And that's what we see often. There are some kind of contradictions always in the teachings of the Vaishnavas. Because such person, we can teach him that, and the other person, it's completely wrong for him. It's like a doctor. It's not the same medicine. The same medicine will go to everyone. The global teaching stays the same. That's what we keep. That's why we must have an experience of Srila Prabhupada. Without this, we find ourselves with persons who are teaching us something that is not necessarily adapted. This is why this movement must evolve. And this is why it will evolve. And this is why there will be branches and other branches and other branches and other. Because those who have the experience, naturally, this experience makes that the path will adapt itself again, new and new and new. This is what is important. This is why we are not conservatives. We are persons that adapt ourselves always and who want truly to be close to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was, before everything, he was our friend. We want to be friends of living beings. And this is why, naturally, we must become non-sectarian and not create an image of Prabhupada like a person who wanted to be alone, who did not like anybody. This is not Prabhupada. Prabhupada is a being of love, very open-minded. So, sometimes things they enter, and on the name of Prabhupada they enter the movement. But is it the truth? That's why we need to have our experience. Experience is the most important thing. Experience, we must have it on our own. If a teaching is authentic, that means we must be able to have the experience. Otherwise, it is weird. You see, there are some kinds of devotees, and when you have an experience, they say, no, it's not an experience. The experience must be there. Of course, we must be accompanied by a sadhu. to not get cheated. Everyone should be accompanied by a sadhu. But it's natural that we have an experience, and this experience is faith. This will be our fate. We all walk in the same way. Whether we're a materialist or a spiritualist, we all walk in the same way, with experience. And this experience is our feeling. This is why someone who is materialist, we say, is a sentimentalist, because he's more on material feelings, and he will analyze the situation with material feelings. But what is a devotee? Someone who has spiritual feelings and who analyzes with spiritual feelings. It's the same thing. And between the two, you have naturally a jnani, the one who reflects on the circumstance through intelligence, through virtuous intelligence. But the pure devotee, it's not by intelligence, it's by feeling, by his bhav. But the materialist, it's also by his feeling, but materialistic feeling. This is why the devotee, intermediate devotee, he must discriminate through intelligence and goodness, which is the scriptures and the teachings of the sadhus. And naturally, Krishna will reciprocate with him, and then experience will also be there, will also be possible. But the experience is the most important thing, because if you do not have the experience, you can abandon your faith and even take an inferior kind of faith. You understand? For example, Buddha Siddhartha, how did he spread his teachings? It's just because he had the experience and he met sadhus who were gurus who had no experience, and they all surrendered to him because they did not have the experience. You understand? But still, the experience of Buddha was simply at the level of Brahman, was not so elevated. A self-realized Vaishnava could have put Buddha back on track, because it's not so elevated as realization. But still, all sadhus who came to see him, they became his disciples, because he had the experience. He spoke at the level of realized experience. And that's what is important. That's what touches people. And naturally, this experience for a Vaishnava comes by trust. If you have trust, experience will come. For example, what is trust? It's to take someone's hand. If you hold Srila Prabhupada's hand, you will have the experience. Because if you take the hand of a great personality, she brings you where she lives. It's natural. This is why we ought to say, accept the teachings of someone, but with love. We must accept with a feeling, how to say, of belonging, a connection, a strong feeling of belonging. Otherwise, it doesn't work. We must have a relationship. It is true that at the level of the Absolute, the scripture and the person is not different, etc. And this applies with all sadhus. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Rupa Goswami. We are a great family. There's not just one person. I was speaking about Prabhupada, but there's not just one person. Krishna's world is full of personalities. We have so many friends, so many people loving us there. And even bees who love us, flowers who love us, trees, the wind, the sun, the moon, the owls, butterflies, gopis, gopas. So many personalities love us. Of course, Radha and Krishna. It's without limits. This is why we start always by a devotee, then we accept 2, and then we accept 3 and 4 and 5, 6, 7, 8. But the one who allowed us to accept, to enter, is still our support always. It is a principle. It's a principle. Otherwise, everything will fall apart. Thank you very much.